And this brings us back on to our drums. So in terms of the drum pattern, there is not a lot to talk about really. It's just your standard house kind of drum pattern. Kick on every beat, clap on every second and fourth beat. And I've got a layer here of a rim shot and a clap. Open hat, and then this shaker at the top here too. There's this snare that we will talk about in a little bit, which is a fill snare, and then a crash cymbal at the top as well. This is the fill snare in here in the build-up. And the thing about this fill snare is that it has this automation, because I actually made this fill snare inside of Serum, and the macro here is what's controlling the pitch. If we have a listen again and watch the pitch here. You can hear it's also got a little bit of reverb on there, and the filter is being controlled by that too. So all you really need to do is just program in a snare pattern like this, and you can just use that to pitch the snare up. And the main thing to talk about with the drums is just the build up and the lift, as we would call it. For example, in the first drop here, we don't have any of those shakers that we mentioned before. Or if there are any, then they're incredibly quiet. And then in the second half of the drop here, we get that shaker coming in quite quietly. And then later on in drop 2.5, for example, the shaker becomes quite a little bit louder. Plus, we also get this additional hat in here. If you listen to the difference between these two sections, drop 2 and 2.5. And then in drop 3 over here, we also have that shaker loop, but even louder. A few interesting things to point out here, where I've actually got the 2 shaker parts, as you saw in the pattern. It jumps between 2 here, 2 there. One of those shaker samples looks like this, where the start point is just before that big spike, and the second one is just a little bit before that. That little variation, again, more of that human feel. The other thing that I've done, which I do quite a lot with hi-hats in the controls here, is just turned up the volume and the pitch a little bit. Got to make sure to turn the re-trigger off. And this is going to pitch the sample up and down a really small amount. Some other interesting points about the drums. We have this big reverse kick at the beginning of the beat, which you can do just by resampling your kick out and then reversing it, placing it before your drums. Also got this snare riser, which is kind of a similar thing, but it's just an exported version of the clap that's been reversed, and I've placed it just before the clap. Now let's move over to the third drop. And the thing that I like about this song is the first 2 drops are relatively simple sample-based drops, but the third drop kind of goes a bit more dancey. But this is what the drop sounds like. And so this is the instrument here. And it ended up composing this of 3 different layers. We have this top granulator layer here, which, as you can see, just has the pattern built in. And I tried out a few different gates, like in particular the trans gate by Kilohertz, because I thought it sounded exactly like that. But even when I tried that, I couldn't get it sounding exactly like the original did. So that's why I ended up opting for this slightly different technique on granulator. The pattern, as you can see, are these 2 16th notes that are very short, and then a bit of a longer one on the 3rd step, and then nothing on the 4th. But the really nice part of the sequence are these 2 notes here, where it kind of gets rid of that pattern and just plays the 2nd and 4th of those. And the chords, if we're starting with the B here as our root note, we've got the F sharp, which is our 5th note. We've got the A sharp, which is our 7th. C sharp is the third, and then D sharp is our fourth note. The one over here has even more notes in between as well, but they're all very similar in terms of their structure, and the rhythm is also exactly the same throughout these three different sequences. Now, the sample that I used in Granulator was from a Contact patch. It's called Choir A. It's from the factory library actually, and I spent a long time trying to find the original sample. It sounded so familiar. If you do know what the preset is or where the sample is from, let me know in the comments below. But I basically played this big long note here. I added a little bit of EQ, as you can see in the bottom here. I then loaded that into Granulator, and the reason I did this is because it doesn't sound like a synth playing the exact same note every single time. It has this kind of randomness to it. But all I had to do is, if I turn the variation up, and I've got the grain size, the variation is quite high on here, and the position as well. I've also got the random turned up in the position here too, which results in this. If I turn the random off, every time a chord plays, it just has a slightly different tone, which I think sounded a lot like the original. But all these different techniques that I was trying out, this second layer is actually what I think is the way that it was actually done. And what I did for this, I took that note and put it into a regular sampler, and I played out the chords that I have above, which sounds like this. Then exported that out as a full audio file and then chopped it up into the pattern that we've got at the top. And I used the fades here to create the decay effect. And these two slices, by the way, are two different parts of the audio file, which again has that random feel. And finally, I have this synth here. Playing the same pattern as the Granulator above. The preset, as you can see, is just these two oscillators with a filter, which you can find in the preset pack below. All of them together. Now, I also wanted to just quickly tell you about our brand new Patreon tier. In this new tier, you will get one hour online one-to-one a month. This could be used for whatever you want. It could be track feedback, it could be learning new topics or new techniques. And it's perfect for those looking for a little bit of guidance and feedbacks on the music that they are creating. Because it's on Patreon, of course, it's a subscription service, but you can stop and start whenever you like. So check that out in the link in the description below too. Okay, now moving on to the other interesting instrument in this second drop, which is this piano here. Now, this piano sounds a lot like a Korg M1 preset. I don't know exactly which one it was, but I've remade it in Serum. In terms of the notes, at this point here in our bass, we are playing a B. So this is going up from the third, fourth, and to the fifth note, which is a very stable interval. And then it does this kind of descending pattern here, which then also has an alternate at the end of the second 8-bar, or 4-bar here, I should say. In the preset, I've got the multi-sample on the Baby Grand. I've also got this second multi-sample of a guitar, which it kind of has that like guitar feel. This is what the Baby Grand sounds like on its own. And then with the guitar. And then I also have this oscillator B in the middle here, which is just adding a bit of extra pop at the beginning of the sound. And I'm also phase distorting it to the guitar on the right here as well. The guitar as well has also got a high pass filter in the warp, as well as our first one here too. And I've kind of been using these a lot like a filter before my main filter, which is super, super handy to have. And speaking of the filter, everything is getting routed through to filter 1 here, which is a very high cutoff and a little bit of resonance to give it that more like digital sampled feel. Envelope 1 has a fast attack, no sustain, a long decay and a long release. And envelope 2 is the one that's controlling oscillator B, and that's just fast attack, no sustain, fast decay. And as I said, everything that you see in this video will be available for free in the description below. And honestly, there's so much more to talk about in this song. But if we were to kind of go back to what they were doing when they made it, it's really quite a simple song. Finding a good sample, writing a bass line and some drums to it. Of course, there are a few additional parts in the later sections of the track, and there's a lot of really interesting sound design, automation and effects that come in and out, and it's just used so well in this track, and that's what makes it sound really good. And that's what you might find you are lacking when it comes to your own tracks. You've got all the parts there, but it still just doesn't sound like a song that you can listen to on repeat. And again, the free sample pack of everything that you saw in this video, as well as the drum samples too, will be in the description below. But if you want to get the extended tutorial, the extended sample pack with more presets, more samples, and more technical analysis of this track, then head to the Patreon link in the description below. Plus, if you sign up to the Patreon, you also get the project template, which is a bare bones template of this project with all of the instruments already loaded in and the structure as you'll see on the screen now. Plus you get all the Ableton Live presets from within this video and all of the previous track analysis sample packs as well. And remember to like and subscribe and comment below your suggestions for the next track analysis. But thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.